what are the elements of a sentence? Number 3, how to construct a sentence using a sentence pattern. Now, forming or building a sentence, we should learn first what is a sentence. So, what are the functions of a sentence? So, let us begin with what is a sentence.
A sentence is a group of words usually containing a subject and a verb, expressing statement, question, instruction, or exclamation, and when written, starting with a capital letter and ending with a period or other mark. Okay, let's have first try to build a sentence by arranging the jumbled words to form a sentence. The words answers, modules, Brian, his, everyday. So the sentence form is Brian answers his modules every day. The second words are cake, pastry chef, the, baked, a. The pastry chef baked a cake. For the third words, watching a is she Korean drama. The sentence form is she is watching a Korean drama. Next words, guitar, I played. The sentence form is I played a guitar. Another word, for a made you sandwich. I made a sandwich for you.
Okay, we're done now in forming a simple sentence. So, let us now learn the elements of the sentence.
The elements of a sentence are, we have the subject. It is the doer of the action or the topic of the sentence. Another is the predicate. It states something about the subject. Direct object. It receives the action done by the subject. And indirect object, it precedes the direct object and tells whom or for whom the action of the verb is done and who is receiving the direct object. Let's have the example of a basic sentence. Brian answers his modules every day. So Brian is the subject. It is the subject. And answers his modules every day is what we call the predicate. And answers is the verb.
As you can see in the example, Brian answers his module every day. Brian is the subject, answers is the verb, and his modules is the object. Alright, so that is an example of a basic sentence. Okay, so it begins with a capital letter and it ends up with a punctuation mark. Now, so as you can see, there is a verb used in this sentence, which is answers. And remember, there is the two types of verbs used in a sentence. So they are, the first one is what we call the action verb, and the second one is the linking verb. So let us define what is an action verb and what is a linking verb. Alright. Okay, let us define first the action verb. Okay, action verb represents something what the subject of a sentence does. Now, linking verbs connect the subject to a state of being. If we consider the example, Ryan answers his module. Okay, so the verb there is answers. Therefore, this verb is an action verb. Why? Because it tells something about the subject. It tells what the subject does. So what does Brian do? He answers. So that is an action verb. In this sentence, Brian is tired. Okay, so our verb here is, which is a form to be, or we call it a linking verb. You will notice how Brian does not do anything in this sentence, right? So Brian is tired, right? So instead, the verb is. It describes how Brian feels. So what does he feel? He feels tired. So is links Brian with tired. Okay? Let us learn now these two basic sentence patterns. But before that, let us define first what is a sentence pattern.
Sentence pattern refers to the arrangements of the elements of a sentence. It starts from the most basic to the most complex. Here are now the two basic sentence patterns. Number 1, the SIV pattern, or we call it subject intransitive verb pattern. Another, number 2, is this STVDO pattern, or we call it the subject transitive verb direct object pattern.
Now, before we could construct a sentence pattern, there are two kinds of verb, another verb. Verb that used in a sentence pattern, and that I will let you know what are those. And of course, what are the difference of these two verbs?
Intransitive verb. It is a verb without a direct object. For example, I sing well. I is the subject. Sing is the verb, which is the intransitive verb, and because there is no direct object used, so therefore This will be this first basic sentence pattern, the SIV pattern. Here are the examples of SIV pattern. The first one, I wrote legibly. I is the subject and wrote is the intransitive verb. Another, Michael and Gabriel woke and yawned. Michael and Gabriel is the subject, woke and yawned is the intransitive verb. Another, he prays every day. He is the subject, prays is the intransitive verb. Students should study every night. Students is the subject and should is the intransitive verb. And she reads silently. She is the subject and reads is the intransitive verb. The second kind of verb is transitive verb, a verb that requires both a subject and a direct object. For example, I bake some cookies. I is the subject, bake is the transitive verb, and cookies is the direct object. So, I bake some cookies is a pattern of the STVDO. Here are the example of the STVDO pattern. Someone ate my sandwich. Someone is the subject, ate is the transitive verb, and sandwich is a direct object. Miko reads the dictionary for pleasure. Miko is the subject, reads is the transitive verb, and dictionary is the direct object. Another, the campers fear the bears. The campers is the subject, fear is the transitive verb, and bears is the direct object. Another, the board showed their approval. The board is the subject, showed is the transitive verb, and there is the direct object. And lastly, I played the piano. So I is the subject, played is the transitive verb, and piano is the direct object.
Let us also analyze the two types of object used in a sentence. Okay, so these two types of objects used in a sentence are the direct object and the indirect object. So when are we going to use direct object and when are we going to use the direct object?
Direct object. It is included in the basic sentence pattern STVDO pattern, where it takes or receives the action of the verb. For example, Bob eats spaghetti. Bob is what we call the subject and eats is the verb. So, spaghetti is the direct object. So what did Bob eat? It is the spaghetti, which is the direct object. Here are the example of direct objects. We have the subject, the verb, and the direct object. Example, the teacher explained the rules. Okay, another. Cats eat fish. John loves Mary. I like chocolate. They have bought a new car. The company is considering my proposal. So those are the examples of direct object.
What if the direct object is a pronoun? Basically, we know that pronouns have cases. In personal pronouns, we have the subjective pronoun and the objective pronouns. So here are the examples of the subjective and objective pronoun. Okay, when the direct object is a pronoun, you are going to use the objective pronoun. Like the example here. So, Fred helped me. So, me is the direct object, which is the objective pronoun. Another, does she like him? Him is a direct object under the objective pronoun. And another is I told them. Them is also a objective pronoun, which is the direct object. Okay, so remember, when you are going to use, okay, notice that all the objective pronoun found at the end of the sentence, right? So you cannot see this pronouns at the beginning of the sentence. When you are going to use pronoun at the beginning of the sentence, that is already a subjective pronoun. Okay?
Another type of object is indirect object, which tells us to whom or for whom an action is done, or the recipient of the direct object. So therefore, indirect object should always has a direct object. So let's see the following examples. Okay, in this example, he gave the pirate a chance. Okay. He is the subject and gave is the verb. What did he give? He gave a chance. For whom did he give a chance? To the pirate. So therefore, the pirate is the one who received. So that is what we call the indirect object, which is the receiver of the direct object. So that is the example of an indirect object.
Let's see another example. Sojun bought his friend a ticket. Okay, Sojun again. Sojun is the subject, bought is a verb, and then his friend is the indirect object, and a ticket is the direct object. Okay, or you can also change the position of the direct object and the indirect object. Okay, like this one. Okay, Sojun bought a ticket for his friend. Alright, so here, what did happen? What happened? So you can observe, you can see that there is the word for. Alright, for. You can see the for. So for is a preposition. So when you're going to change the position of the direct object and indirect object, you will add preposition. Okay, that's all about my video lesson in how to construct a simple sentence using a basic sentence pattern.
Remember, one of the aspects of clear and coherent in writing report about an issue is to use proper grammatical structure, and one of it is through the use of sentence pattern.
And another thing to remember, when you are writing a sentence, okay, don't forget to capitalize always the beginning of a sentence and always end it up with a punctuation. marks like a question mark, a period, or an exclamation point. And another, you should also capitalize the name of a person, a place, or the exact name of a company or the name of a product. Okay, we're done now on my video lesson about how to construct a sentence using the sentence pattern. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope you have learned something about